General Jack Keane is our senior strategic analyst and retired four-star general. So what do you think went down during this deadline?
Well, listen, first of all, I appreciate President Trump and wanting to open the Straits of Hormuz, certainly, and also put together a deal with the Iranians that would give us everything. They would have to surrender everything that we would take away from them using military force. That's the essence of the deal. And the top of that list certainly is they have to give up and let us take away the nuclear enrichment that they absolutely have. And that's got to be in that deal, and it's got to be number one in the deal, because at the beginning of everything here, it was about their nuclear capability. But think about, what did the Iranians want here also? Why did they close the Straits of Hormuz? They closed the Straits of Hormuz simply to put pressure on the administration to stop the war. And we have stopped the war. So let's understand what's at play here from the Iranian perspective and also from our perspective. I don't trust the Iranians at all. The president doesn't trust them either. He's negotiated with them time and time again. He knows they're liars and cheats. So this comes down to the deal itself and what's in it and the verification for it. The Iranians are experts at obfuscating and delaying deals, and they lie and promise and don't deliver. So there's a lot wrapped up in the deal. My preference would have been to keep the war going as leverage to make that deal. But we are where we are now, and we're in a ceasefire. And it comes down to all the points in making that deal, for sure. And we'll see how that turns out. It looks like the president is getting indications from the Iranians that they're willing to concede on all of those points. I don't dispute the fact that people are saying that. Whether they actually do it is another matter, and that's my concern about this. And the president and his team knows who they're dealing with. So we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire, and if this blows up in our face, we have to have the stomach to finish this militarily. And the Iranians are counting on the fact, I think where they're coming from, delay, obfuscate, and that the fact that the Americans have stopped and the straits are open, ships are starting to flow again, that we would not have the stomach to go back and return to military operations. That, I think, is their strategy. And we'll see if that unfolds. We'll know pretty quickly when it gets down to the actual fine points of the deal and how we verify it and the concessions they're willing to make. And we'll see what that is. But I am skeptical about where we're heading with the Iranians, because I flat don't trust them, and I don't like taking the pressure off them by going to a ceasefire, which is what they wanted in any event, to force the United States to stop the war. And we have done that, admittedly only temporarily, but we got to see what's in that deal.
General, it sounds like you think this ceasefire is not going to last. And if it doesn't last and it blows up, what do you think the U.S. military posture should be?
Well, we have to finish what we started. The Israelis need about 10 days to 2 weeks. We're about the same. There's still lots of targets out there for the hit in the minds of military commanders. And I really do think if the deal blows up, it comes down to Carg Island and forcing either take control of Carg Island and take control of the distribution of oil, or destroy it and force an economic collapse. Either you take control of Carg Island and then you have the leverage to bend them to our will and actually force them into a position that we truly want. And that sets the regime, I think, on a path to regime collapse. There's no way we can know that for sure, and we've said that from the outset.
You don't think
if we can get a deal,
you don't think
if we can get a deal that takes everything away that we would do militarily, that's another matter. But I'm suggesting that remains to be seen. And the president's made a decision here. We got to play it out to see what happens.
You don't think this could be a misdirection on behalf of the administration to take Carg or deploy a more aggressive option? Because they might expect the Iranians to cheat.
Well, listen, this much I know. The president is very clear-eyed here. He knows who he's dealing with, and he knows the value of Cargallen. And in my mind, he knows full well he can take control of it or he can destroy it. And he knows it is a seminal point in Iran's future. And yes, he realizes exactly what a strategic asset that is, and he can take ownership or destroy it at will. So yes, he always has that card to play, and he knows it.
Okay. The talk around town was war crimes. I didn't know blowing up a bridge was a war crime. There's been a ton of past presidents in a lot of wars that have hit bridges, that have hit power plants. How did you process hearing all that?
Well, look, we know our president, right? He uses rich and colorful language, and he uses it as leverage in negotiations. And I think a lot of that was at play here. And it doesn't mean for a minute that he's not going to use maximum military force to crush this regime. He certainly intended to do that. And he had plenty of options to do. But the rich and colorful language, I think it was part of all of the leverage he was trying to achieve. And people take a literal interpretation of some of that for political reasons. I think I saw it for what it is. I saw it as the president's language as leverage in dealing with the Iranians, and that's all it was. And I don't think we were on a path to commit war crimes, not at all.
Yeah, trash talk, as we call it. General Keane, thank you so much. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.